get this live going here. Start getting into the topic today about the difference between a brand strategy and a marketing strategy. A lot of people may confuse that. A lot of people, most people don't even have a brand strategy, and they want to jump right into a marketing strategy, but that's you're skipping steps. So today what I want to go over and kind of discuss is the difference between the two, and hopefully that could clear up a few things, and you can understand the main differences between the brand strategy and the marketing strategy. Okay? Now, Melina, what's going on? Back from sunny Florida. So, basically, they both are extremely important. They both work hand in hand, right? In my opinion, you can't jump into a marketing strategy if a brand strategy does not exist. That's something to note. If a brand strategy does not exist, you cannot just jump into a marketing strategy. And why? Why is that? Because there's no direction. Who are you speaking to? How are you speaking to them? You're going to be running marketing campaigns without the blueprint, without the direction. So let's back it up and let's get into the brand strategy first. Key elements of a brand strategy is really identifying the core values of the company and what you stand for as a company. What are you looking to do? What are your goals and objectives? Who are you looking to serve? And how? That's all established with the brand strategy. Identifying how you're different. When you could identify those things and you can determine who your ideal target audience is, then you're going to know how to speak to them. That's where we develop the brand messaging. The brand messaging is built within the brand strategy. So if you can really be concise and consistent and on point with your brand messaging, then you're going to be able to speak to the right target audience, have your messaging resonate with them because it's meant for them. You're speaking very specifically, and that's identified in the brand strategy. So now that you have, and of course this is where we're going through this at a faster pace. Now that you have a brand strategy in place, you identify who your target audience is. You know exactly how to speak to them. You're able to develop the offer. Well, how are you the solution? How are you different? That's the thing. How are you different? Once you have that in place, then it's time to craft the marketing strategy. Because now we have guidance. Now we have the proper information in place to create a campaign that would be the most effective for you. Now, what do I mean by that? Is that if we identify the target audience and we know who we're looking to do business with, we know where they're hanging out. Now we're able to determine what campaigns may work best. So does that make sense? So some companies will benefit more from Google. some more from social, some maybe email marketing. It all depends on what we're trying to do. But we have an educated game plan now. We're not going in there in the dark. We're not just going in there trying to take shots in the dark and hoping we're hitting the target. So, does that make sense? If you're working with somebody, you have a business, you could be an entrepreneur, you could be an established company, and if you're working with an agency who is running campaigns for the sake of running campaigns just because you may want them, and they're not focusing on these things that I just spoke about, you're going to be missing the mark. You're missing the mark, and you're also going to be disappointed with the results because your brand messaging is probably not set. You may or may not identify, determine who the target audience is, but if you're not positioning yourself as a solution to their problems, then they're going to bypass you in a possible ad campaign. Nothing's going to sit and resonate. I'm not touching upon the pain points and positioning myself as a solution, so nothing's resonated. So that person's going to just continue to scroll on by. So if that's not happening right now in your own marketing, well, you got to pause. You definitely have to pause, and you have to bring it back. You have to bring it back to stage one and say, hey, we're going to have to evaluate ourselves a little bit more now. We have to take a look internally at our own brand and really evaluate how we're portraying ourselves out there. I'll give you an example. It wasn't that long ago when we did it for ourselves internally. It wasn't that long ago. It was a combination, however, because it wasn't just about determining the brand messaging. We were going through the actual rebranding, right? So it was a little bit different. So, but it made us realize, like, wow, we're really our brand messaging is really fragmented. From the web to possibly our social. It really was a little bit of a wake-up call. So I wasn't really surprised because we are so focused on our clients that we tend to lose track a little bit and not pay attention to what we might be doing. But that all changed 2.5 years ago or so when we started to really focus on ourselves again, and it remains a priority. So you want to bring it back and take a look at what's going on. Even if you feel everything is going well, it doesn't hurt to go ahead and do that self-evaluation to see, hey, how's the public seeing us? Do they know? Here's another thing too, which a lot of people tend to forget, and then they don't even realize. When a person looks at my company, can you immediately identify who we are and what we do? Are we clear with who we are? Are we clear with the services that we provide? How do we help businesses? Are we clear? If we're not, we're losing business, because people are then going to look at us as just maybe a one-trick pony and then not look at us for anything else. So we're losing opportunities. And sadly, that has happened in the past because we weren't deliberate with our messaging. So people, not even I was going to say strangers, but possible prospects. I'm not even speaking about those people. I'm talking about people who knew of us and who worked with us in the past, who did not realize that, oh, they do SEO. they work with Google. And I'm like, wow, we failed. We failed there. So you want to be clear there. So as the brand strategy is in place, you have a very clear understanding of how to position your company with the right messaging to the right people. Now you move into a very strategic marketing game plan. That marketing strategy is then precise in exactly what we would start doing to effectively build the brand awareness, the lead generation, whatever the objectives are for the company. And it all blends together. It all jives. So, two very important things. I don't think it's really spoken about enough. I think a lot of times one or the other is really focused on, which you can take the entire time and speak about each one. Perfectly fine. They're very important, and there's way more to say about each one. That could be saved for a future podcast, perhaps. But for the purpose of today's live, is really give a nice overview of the branding strategy and the marketing strategy, how they're different, but also how they work together. Because at the end of the day, you want them to sync and work together. So hopefully that was very helpful and useful information there to evaluate for your own business. Every business that's out there online needs a brand strategy. You need to start with the brand strategy. It sets the tone. It sets the stage. You're creating your brand voice. When all that is established, then you can move on to other things, and everything's going to be consistent. Everything across the board, from the look and feel of the company, how the company's portrayed, even with your color palette, to then the messaging. And you look at some of these big brands and such, they know who their target audience is, and that's it. And that's who they cater to, that's who they speak to, and that's where the money's coming in from. And you have to embrace that. You know, some brands cannot be for all. You know, you have to pick and choose who you really can help and who do you want to work with. Who would be the best fit, right? Same thing in retail. You go to these specialty shops, same thing. Who are they catering to? You go from one to the other, and you look at what's going on. You look at maybe what they're selling, you look at their price points, and then you could determine who are they selling to? Who is their ideal clientele? And you can see that. Some of it is more apparent and obvious than other stores, but you can get what I'm trying to say with that. That's what I wanted to kind of jump on here and talk about today. Hopefully it was useful information, very important topics when it comes to setting the stage for your marketing, to just be successful with your marketing. At the end of the day, you want to have certain things in place, and you want to go about it in the right order to find the most success, if that makes sense. You don't want to skip steps. You don't want to jump around. You can get lucky. You can. But if you want to do things the right way, and you really want to be the most effective, you need to follow a certain sequence. You need that brand strategy to be on point. So then the marketing strategy comes naturally. You know exactly what you need to do. And the experts that you might be working with, then they know what they need to execute. So that's it for today. Hopefully that was great information for you and it was helpful. Obviously, you could always reach me if you have questions. You could always send me a message either on here, on Instagram, or you can find me on LinkedIn, and you could say, hey, can you explain a little bit more? Or I do need help with my company. I'll be happy to speak with you. So thanks for today. Thanks